she checked his following list, that's when it started. Not with a scream, not with a confrontation, not even with anger, not at first. It started with a quiet, almost imperceptible shift, like the way a room feels different when someone has just left it. Marielle sat curled into the corner of her ivory velvet sofa, her phone glowing softly against the dim light of her living room. Outside, the city hummed, distant traffic, laughter spilling from somewhere below. But inside, everything felt still, suspended. She wasn't the type to check. At least, that's what she told herself. Confidence had always been her signature. She owned it the way she owned everything else in her life. Her boutique interior design studio, her curated wardrobe, her time. She didn't chase. She didn't question. She chose. And she had chosen him. Darren was easy to choose, smooth in the way that made people lean in, attentive, but never suffocating. He had a way of making her feel seen without ever asking too many questions. For nearly a year, he had existed in her life like a perfectly placed accent piece, never overwhelming, always enhancing, until tonight. It had been something small, a flicker, a comment he made earlier, half laughing, about how people read too much into social media.
It's not real life,
He'd said, pouring himself a drink in her kitchen, not quite meeting her eyes. And for some reason, that had stayed with her. So now, here she was, scrolling. At first, it was harmless curiosity, a glance, a quiet, almost playful exploration of a man she thought she knew. Then her thumb slowed, then stopped. A pattern. That was the first thing she noticed. It wasn't just that he followed other women. She wasn't naive and she wasn't insecure. It was the kind of women, polished, curated, seductive in a very specific, deliberate way. Women who posted from hotel rooms with silk sheets. Women who posed in mirrors with captions that hinted but never told. Women who lived in a world adjacent to hers, but not quite. Marielle leaned forward, her posture tightening. Her pulse didn't spike, it sharpened, because it wasn't just that he followed them. It was that they followed him back. And not just followed, engaged. Likes, comments, inside jokes, hidden in plain sight. She clicked on one profile, then another, each one unfolding like a carefully wrapped secret. There was a woman in Miami, Layla, who had posted a photo just 3 weeks ago. The caption was vague, playful.
Some nights don't need explanations.
Darren had commented a single flame emoji. Marielle's jaw tightened. 3 weeks ago, Darren had told her he was on a quick work trip. He'd sent her a picture of a hotel room, sterile, generic. She opened her messages, scrolled, found it. Then she looked back at Layla's post. Same headboard, same lighting. The air in the room shifted. That was when it stopped being curiosity and became clarity. She didn't cry. That would have been easier. Instead, she felt something colder settle into her chest. A kind of precision, a quiet, surgical awareness. Marielle set her phone down slowly, her mind already moving ahead of her emotions. Because betrayal, she realized, wasn't always loud. Sometimes it was meticulous, intentional, layered. And if he had been careful enough to build this, then she would be careful enough to dismantle it. The next morning, she woke up radiant, not in spite of what she knew. Because of it, there was a certain kind of power in understanding the full picture, in seeing clearly, without illusion. Marielle dressed with intention, soft cream silk, gold jewelry that caught the light just right. She looked like a woman in control. Because she was. When Darren texted her,
Dinner tonight?
She responded without hesitation.
Of course.
No questions, no tension, no cracks. That was the first move. Dinner was effortless. She laughed at the right moments, touched his hand just enough, listened with the same soft attentiveness he had always praised her for. If anything, she was better than before. And Darren noticed.
I've missed this.
he said, studying her across the table. Marielle smiled gently.
Missed what?
This. Us. You feel different tonight.
She tilted her head slightly, as if considering it.
Do I?
He nodded.
In a good way?
Of course, she thought, because men like Darren didn't recognize distance when it was dressed as intimacy. They only recognized absence, and she hadn't given him that, not yet. Over the next 2 weeks, Marielle became something else entirely, not colder, sharper. She didn't confront him. She didn't accuse. She observed, collected, built. Every inconsistency, every unexplained gap, every carefully worded message. She let it all reveal itself. And in the process, a pattern emerged far bigger than she had expected. Layla wasn't the only one. There were others. Different cities, different timelines, different versions of Darren. To one woman, he was ambitious and building. To another, he was recently out of something complicated. To Marielle, he was stable, grounded, safe. She almost admired it. Almost. But admiration didn't erase intent, and intent had consequences. The opportunity came quietly, as they always do. Darren mentioned casually that he was closing a big deal, something that required him to move money quickly, temporarily.
It's just logistics.
He said.
Short term, in and out.
Marielle listened, smiled, asked just enough questions to seem interested, not suspicious. And then she offered something he didn't expect.
I could help.
She said. He hesitated, just for a second.
Help how?
I have liquid capital sitting idle right now. If timing is the issue, I could bridge it.
She watched the exact moment his interest sharpened. Because beneath everything else Darren was, he was opportunistic.
That would actually solve a lot.
He admitted. Of course it would. The paperwork was clean, careful, professional. Marielle made sure of it. Every detail structured, every agreement documented, every clause precise. Darren signed without reading too closely. Men like him rarely did when they thought they were winning. 3 weeks later, everything unraveled. Not for her, for him. The deal he had described was real, but not in the way he had presented it. It was over-leveraged, unstable, dependent on timing he didn't control. And the funds Marielle had loaned, they weren't just a bridge. They were collateral, structured in a way that gave her leverage the moment anything faltered. Which it did, spectacularly. When Darren called her, his voice was tight.
There's been a delay.
He said.
I just need a little more time.
Marielle sat at her desk, sunlight spilling across polished wood, her expression calm.
I'm sure you do.
She replied softly. He paused. Something in her tone shifted the air.
Marielle?
She leaned back slightly, crossing one leg over the other.
You should have read the agreement more carefully, Darren.
Silence. Heavy. Immediate.
What are you talking about?
I structured it to protect my position. In the event of a default, which, based on your current situation, has already occurred, I assume control of the associated assets.
His breath caught.
That's not...
It is,
she said, her voice still gentle.
You signed it.
Another silence. This one different, fractured.
You set me up,
he said finally. Marielle considered that, then smiled, though he couldn't see it.
No,
she replied.
You set yourself up. I just paid attention.
Later that night, she opened her phone again, not to check his following list, but to unfollow him. And as his profile disappeared from her feed, she felt it, that same shift from before. But this time, it wasn't unsettling. It was final. Because the truth was, it hadn't started when she checked his following list. That had only been the moment she chose to see. What ended it was what she chose to do next.